Hello, and thank you for joining us. Tonight, you return to Rome, a hero, a general, a father. You have done everything the old gods asked of you. You have bled for your country, buried your sons with honor, served tradition with both hands. But Rome has changed while you were gone, and its hunger is not so easily satisfied. You will give more than you planned. You will lose more than you thought possible, and the lines between justice and madness will begin to blur. This is not history. This is the sound of the earth cracking beneath your feet. You are Titus Andronicus, and the reckoning has already begun. You smell iron, not the bright kind, not coins or swords or wine, old iron, the kind that lives in your fingernails after a week of trench rot, the kind that curdles when it mixes with rain and flesh. You haven't spoken in hours, not since the last mile marker, not since the one-eyed veteran knelt by the roadside and wept at the sight of your standard. You couldn't remember his name. You didn't stop. The road into Rome is smoother than you remember. Or maybe your bones are too ruined to feel the ruts. Behind you, 4 wagons. One carries your armor, one carries your banner, 2 carry boxes. Wooden, narrow, carved by men with hands that shook. 4 sons in 4 boxes. Your 5th son didn't even make it to wood. You carry him in a pouch around your neck, burned to ash. His name was Mutius. You try not to say it out loud. The taste of it burns the back of your tongue. And then the captured ones come. Prisoners from the northern wars. Tied behind your 4th cart, hands bound, faces exposed. Among them, her, Tamora, Queen of the Goths. She looks at you, eyes like frostbitten olives, shoulders square, a chain around her neck, but no fear in her jaw. Her sons follow behind her. Chiron, Demetrius. You don't bother learning which is which. They'll die soon enough. You made your name on victories like this. She is the prize Rome expects. A barbarian queen in chains, her crown taken, her men slaughtered. She's supposed to beg. She doesn't. She holds your gaze the whole way to the forum. And even in chains you feel it. This is not over. The gates of Rome gape open like a wound that never closed. A cheering crowd on either side, peasants, patricians, beggars in civic togas. You smell bread, but it's faint, drowned out by piss, sweat, garlands, and the sweet stink of flowers dying in the heat. You want to stop the cart. You want to climb down and bury the boxes somewhere quiet, without 100 greasy eyes watching. But your name has become a public act. Titus Andronicus, Warfather, Ghostmaker, Emperor Maker. You keep your back straight. You keep your mouth closed. The crows fly low over the forum. The Senate chamber tastes like dust and copper. You're not sure why. Maybe your gums are bleeding again. There's talk of succession. Voices echo off the marble. You hear Saturninus. He is always louder than he should be. You, Titus, are the father of Rome, he says, grinning with teeth too small for his jaw. You are our shield. Let your voice name the next Caesar. You look at him and think, rat. A big, perfumed rat. But tradition holds weight. So does blood. You choose him. You nod. You speak. And just like that, Rome has an emperor again. Saturninus' smile widens. Too much gum. Too much pleasure. He steps down, takes Lavinia by the wrist. Not hand. Wrist. You blink. She looks to you, just for a breath. There is no fear in her eyes. There is pleading. That's worse. You do not move, because to move would be to unravel the illusion. To move would be to admit you've come home to a stage, not a city. He declares her empress. There's applause. You hear it like horses screaming behind stone. Then Bassianus speaks, loud, righteous, young. Lavinia was promised to me. The bond was public, the contract sealed. Lavinia moves to him like a prisoner finding the shape of her name again. Your sons raise their swords in support. The chamber surges like a boil about to burst. Voices, steel, orders barked and swallowed. You do not move. Not because you agree. Not because you object. Because you are stuck. Like a man caught between gods. Like a father who has forgotten which child he gave to which war. And Saturninus? He watches it all, jaw tight, eyes gleaming. Then he turns, not toward you, not toward Lavinia. He turns to Tamora. She is still in chains. Her wrists bruised, her dress torn, but she stands as if she's already wearing a crown. Her son's behind her, her eyes locked on you. I will take this woman for my empress, Saturninus says. The room stops breathing. You blink, not out of shock, but because you saw it coming too late. He lifts her manacled hand and kisses it. Tamora bows, but it is not deference. It is a wolf crouching to leap. The Senate stirs, confused, uneasy, but unwilling to stop it. No one stops emperors. You open your mouth. You close it again. Because to speak would be to shatter what little order remains. She looks at you, not with rage, with recognition. You slaughtered her son. Now she has married Rome, and you just gave her the crown. That night, you do not eat. You sit beside a shallow pit you dug in the garden of your family house, where the dirt is black and dense like packed coal. You open the ash pouch. The smell hits you. Burnt marrow, charred linen, a hint of oils that never quite covered the rot. You pour the remains into the soil. You try to speak. You try to say his name. Your mouth opens, but something else comes out. A sound. Not yours. Not human. Not anything the gods should hear. You slap your own cheek to stop it. The tree you plant is laurel. Its leaves curl like dried tongues. The bark peels under your thumb. You press the roots into the soil with bare hands. You whisper, "Let him rest." The wind is still, but the leaves shiver. You do not look up. You do not want to see the rooftops, where the crows have begun to gather again. You know they are watching. You know one will follow you to bed. You know one is already inside your house, inside your head, and it is learning your name. The next morning, something is wrong with the sky. You notice it, just as the light begins to creep down the inner wall of the courtyard, bleeding over the stone like milk spilled over a wound. It's not a color you recognize, not the blue of command, or the gray of waiting, or the red of hunger. It's the color of bruised meat. You sit on the ground, still in your armor. You slept on stone because beds are for men who trust the dark. Your knuckles are stiff, one finger won't move. You flex it slowly until you feel the tendons snap back into place with a sound like a knuckle cracking inside your skull. The crows didn't come last night. Not physically, but you heard them. In your teeth, in your dreams, in the hollows behind your eyes. Someone has stolen the silence from your garden. The air is full of the rustle of fabric over marble, the click of perfumed shoes, the wet whisper of gossip through painted mouths. They are inside your house. The palace dogs. The snakes in laurels. You rise. You pass Lavinia in the hall. She does not see you. Not really. She walks like a girl who has already become an idea. A ribbon, a prize, a possession passed from man to man. She's in pale linen today, no jewelry. Her sandals are wrong, too small. They were someone else's once. You open your mouth. You mean to ask if she's eaten. Instead you say, "Does he touch you?" The words are gravel. She flinches. You regret it. You do not take it back. She bows her head. Not like a daughter, like a hostage. Then she's gone, and you are left standing in a hall that stinks of oil and funeral lilies. Bassianus visits. He's flushed from riding. Armor half buckled. Too young to know how to wait. They're plotting something, he says. You sip wine. It's too thin. You stare at the wax seal on the letter he's holding. You recognize the crest. Timora's. She's playing him, he says. The emperor's in her mouth like a bone. He paces. Your daughter's not safe here. Nor your name. Not anymore. You nod. You feel it too. Like a weight under the floorboards. Bassianus leaves with Lavinia before breakfast. You watch her go. Something in your chest whispers, "Don't let her leave the city." You do not listen. In your atrium, the queen is already waiting. Not in chains. Not to beg. To visit. As empress. Timora. She's draped in white silk. Too white. Like bleached bone. There is blood on her hem. Not enough to notice unless you've watched a throat open. You have. She's not alone. Her sons are beside her. The tall one, Chiron, all elbows and heat. The younger, Demetrius, too still, eyes like dried figs, rotting sweet. They don't belong here. They don't belong anywhere civilized. But they're smiling. They're always smiling. You want to draw your sword. You want to pin it through the floor and scream so loud the gods bleed from the ears. But you don't. Because Saturninus gave her power. And Saturninus wears the crown you handed him. So you bow. You bow to the woman whose son you butchered and gave to the pyres in honor of your own. You bow, and she curtsies like a viper flicking its tongue. She says, "Your daughter is beautiful. You must be proud." You do not answer. You are listening. Because you hear something. Not words. Not sound. Breathing. From the shadows. Wet. Wrong. Too close. That night, you send Lucius to the barracks with orders. You don't know what they are. You write them anyway. You sign your name. Your hand shakes. You light a candle and sit at your son's grave. You say nothing. The crows return. They line the garden walls. One drops a pebble at your feet. You stare at it. It's not a pebble. It's a tooth. You close your eyes. The sky is darker now. The wrong kind of dark. You dream of Lavinia's mouth open wide, but no sound comes out. Only feathers. It begins with silence. Not the good kind. Not temple stillness or prayer hush. This is the silence that comes before news. You feel it long before the messenger arrives. A prickling behind your ears. A pressure in your chest like you've swallowed ash. You're in the garden when they find you. Your knees in the dirt. Your hand on the laurel tree. The blood from your knuckles drying into the bark like a second root. A soldier clears his throat. You don't turn. He says Bassianus is dead. He says they found him in the woods. Throat open, purse still full. A murder without theft. You rise slowly. Where's Lavinia? The soldier doesn't answer. He doesn't have to. You ride out. You do not dress for it. You go in what you're wearing, your tunic still stained from your son's funeral. The forest greets you like a thing that remembers. The road twists tighter. The trees crowd closer. You remember this path. You took it once with your sons. They hunted boar. You drank wine. You laughed. Now there are only crows. They show you his body. They cover the face, but you uncover it. You must. The wound is deep, jagged, torn more than cut. He was trying to speak when he died. You can see it in the way his lips froze open. You close them with 2 fingers. You whisper his name. Not because you loved him, but because he died with your daughter beside him. She is not here. They say there are tracks. They say there was a struggle. They say they found a bag of gold near the body, and your family crest on a seal beside it. You do not shout. You walk back to your horse. Your fingers tighten on the reins. You do not mount. You stare at the dirt and say, "They're going to blame my sons." By the time you return, they've already been taken. Quintus, Marcius. No trial, no questioning, no defense. You find the door to your house open. Lucius pacing. Your wife weeping into her hands. You ask where they are. No one speaks. You are turning in place and smell her before you see her. Lavinia. Blood, smoke, rot. She doesn't knock, but the door opens, and everything that follows will scar the world. You hear the door creak open like it does in dreams. That long, slow wail of rust and wood swelling against itself. You turn your head, slowly, too slowly, because some part of you already knows. She's in the archway, not standing, not swaying, holding herself upright like something held up by strings. Lavinia. Your daughter. The thing that used to be your daughter. She steps forward. One leg trembles. The other drags. There's a dark stain at the hem of her dress. Not fresh enough to be blood. Not old enough to be dust. You stand. Your chair scrapes stone. Your knees don't want to work. You smell her before she reaches you. Smoke. Urine. Meat that's been rinsed, but not cooked. You see the bandages first. They are wrapped too tightly. So tight, they've started to brown where the wound keeps seeping through. Where her hand should be, there are only stumps. You blink. Not hands. No, not even fingers. Just the place where her body ends, and someone else's cruelty begins. She opens her mouth. You feel your spine straighten like a pulled bowstring. You lean in. She tries to speak. Nothing comes out. No, not nothing. A sound. Not a word. Not even a breath. A shiver made of wetness and air, like wind through torn lungs. She tries again. Then a third time. And you see, her tongue is gone. Your stomach revolts. You do not throw up. You are a Roman. You swallow the acid like you've swallowed every other injustice this empire has carved into your ribs. But your hands shake. You whisper, "Who?" Then louder, "Who did this?" Again, "Who?" Your voice cracks. It sounds like someone else screaming through your teeth. Lavinia stumbles forward. She kneels. She's trying to write. In the dirt, with her wrists. Just trying. But there are no fingers. Only gauze and raw flesh and desperate motion. She digs a shaky letter. It collapses into nothing. She tries again. And again. You want to help. But your knees are locked. You're afraid to touch her. Afraid that if you do, she'll fall apart in your arms like wet paper and dried blood. You look at your sons. They're frozen. Statues in a fresco of grief. Lucius steps forward. He says, "We'll find them." You nod. Because you must. Because to say what you feel would be to bite your tongue out of your own mouth in sympathy. Later, you sit by the hearth. Lavinia is asleep, curled in blankets that will never be washed clean. You cradle the stumps of her arms. The bandages have come loose. You can see the edge of the cuts. Not clean, not surgical. Torn, gnawed, ripped. You see tooth marks. Human tooth marks. You lean back. The fire snaps. You stare into the flames and see a pie cooling on a windowsill. A crust. A scent. And underneath it, 2 pairs of eyes, boiled till they burst. Sons of wolves. Meat for justice. You smile. Just a little. And the smile does not go away. The house is too quiet now. Even the rats have gone. Even the crows. You sit by the cold hearth, your hands limp in your lap, your eyes locked on the empty bowl across the table. No one has touched the stew. You burned it again. Or maybe it was never made. Lavinia watches from her corner. Wrapped in blankets, eyes half-lidded. Mouth still. Always still. A knock at the door. Not the loud knock of soldiers. The soft knock of lies. You rise. Your bones ache. You smell the sweat from your own tunic before you reach the door. A messenger stands there, too thin, too clean. His robes are perfumed. His words are sweet. The emperor offers mercy, he says. The Empress grieves for your pain. You don't answer. He continues, there is a path forward. Your sons will be spared. The charge is forgotten. Rome will remember its hero. You wait. The air thickens. Then he says the price. Sacrifice a hand, and your sons will be returned. The people will see it as noble, as a sign of your devotion, your suffering in exchange for their freedom. You nod to the messenger and send him on his way. The palace smells like fruit rotting in a bronze bowl when you arrive. Sweet, clinging, too thick for breath. You walk slowly, not because of your knees, not because of grief, but because you want them to watch you. You want them to measure your silence and find it unbearable. They call it an audience chamber, but today it is a stage, and you are ready to perform. Saturninus sits like a drunk child dressed in his father's skin. He toys with a ring as you kneel before him. Tamora lounges beside him, not in a seat, but a throne shaped like a wound. Her sons are nearby, whispering into goblets, eyes on Lavinia. You do not let your hand tremble. You say the words. You say them with clarity, that you will give up your hand. If only he will spare your sons. You say it like a father begging the gods for one more hour. They nod. They agree. They smile. Too quickly. You hold out your arm. There is a knife. A block of wood. A man you do not know, dressed in robes far too clean, takes your wrist. He does not ask if you're ready. The knife is sharp. You know this because you do not scream. Only bite down so hard your molars crack. They take the hand and wrap it like meat in cloth. They thank you for your generosity. You feel the blood run down your forearm and think of a flag unraveling in wind. Your sons do not appear. Instead, a cart, with two heads in a wicker basket. You do not ask whose. You already know. The floor tilts. You stand anyway. You walk back through the chamber like a man dragging a broken cross. Outside, you feel the heat of noon cook your wound. The bandages are soaked. You begin to laugh. It starts as breath, becomes a cough, becomes something sharp and cracked and rising. Your men stare. You keep laughing. That night you serve dinner. No one eats. Lavinia stares at her bowl. She can't hold a spoon. You've not yet taught her how to drink from her wrists. Lucius says nothing. The stew is burning. No one stirs it. You sit at the head of the table. Your stump still drips. No one dares mention the smell. You rise slowly. You go to the courtyard. You kneel beside the laurel tree. You whisper, I gave it to them. My hand. And they gave me heads. You press your face to the dirt. You say it again. Louder. Then again. And again. Until the crows join in. And then you are screaming. You can't sleep anymore. Not fully, not without choking. When your eyes close, you see your daughter mouthing words she cannot say. Wrists scraping stone, dress soaked in shame you cannot wash. You see your sons behind iron. Quintus, Martius, framed for a murder they did not commit, not that anyone cares. You see Saturninus smiling with Tamora's teeth. You stay there for hours. No one touches you, not even the crows. That night, you don't sleep. You sit beside Lavinia. You take her broken arms and wrap them in your cloak. You kiss her forehead. She shivers. You whisper, "They think I am broken. They think I will crawl. They do not yet know what I will become." You begin to laugh, quietly, just enough to unsettle the fire. It flickers too fast, too sharp. You think, if I cannot win as a man, I will win as something else. You begin by talking to the walls. Only when others are near, only when it matters. You mutter to your fig tree in the garden, stroking its bark like skin. You tell it secrets. You call it Mutius. You wear the same blood-crusted tunic for 3 days. Your bandages stay unchanged. You greet strangers with laughter instead of words. Sharp, sudden bursts, too loud, too fast. Laughter like a broken door banging in wind. And they believe it. Of course they do. They think grief has broken you. They think the old general has gone soft in the skull. Good. Let them. You walk barefoot through the forum. People stare. You hold out your stump like an offering bowl. Children point. A priest blesses you from a distance, as if grief is catching. You mutter about stars, about Saturn eating his children, about how the moon is hollow and full of teeth. You ask where the birds have gone. No one answers. But they talk. They talk behind hands, behind fans, behind smiles. He's gone mad, the poor old warrior. Too many sons buried, too much blood. He should have died in the wars. Tamara sends you gifts. A basket of plums, a golden robe, a scroll that reads, "Peace comes to those who submit." You wear the robe as a funeral shroud. You feed the plums to the rats. You burn the scroll in the forum and eat the ashes. The taste stays in your teeth for days. You walk into the marketplace with feathers in your hair. You sing war songs from your youth. Not the words, just the screams between verses. You hand out coins, biting them first. One merchant thanks you. You smile and say, "Would you like my other hand?" The merchant laughs. You don't. He stops laughing. At home, Lavinia watches. She does not smile. She does not blink often. Her arms are healing. Her mouth is not. You speak to her gently. You tell her stories from when she was small. You recount the taste of snow in Gaul, the smell of blood after a thunderstorm. She listens. She understands. When you draw in the dirt a crude sketch of 2 men, 2 wolves, she nods. Lucius returns at night, through the back gate. Dirt on his face, mud in his boots, eyes like yours. He kneels before you. You shake your head. There are no fathers left here, you say, only ghosts. He bows lower. You press your forehead to his and whisper, "It begins now." Later, you take a stick. You carve the names into your skin. Chiron, Demetrius. Each letter shallow, clean. No blood. Not yet. The crows watch from the rafters. You lift your face and smile at them. "There is no madness," you whisper. "Only patience dressed in rags." It begins with a gift. not from the gods. From her. A servant comes with a scroll, sealed with wax, still warm from her fingers. It reads, "If you are still a man, not a ghost, then prove it. Host my sons, hear their terms. Let the past burn away, and let Rome be Rome again." You laugh before you finish reading it. They think you're broken. They think the fire has gone out. They think this is the moment to offer mercy, their version of it. You write nothing in return. You sweep the floors. You lay out plates. You boil water. They will come. Of course they will. Tamora thinks herself clever. She is feeding you the meat with her own hands. You clean the blade twice. Once for the gods. Once for the recipe. It is not a soldier's knife. It is long, curved slightly at the end, made for skinning deer, not men. But it will do. You set the table in the courtyard. Place settings for 7. 1 for each ghost. 1 for you. You hum as you work. Not a song. A low vibration in your throat. A rhythm. A pulse. The rhythm of ritual. They come at dusk. Chiron and Demetrius. Peacocks in leather. Gold on their wrists. Arrogance in their spines. Tamara sent them with a message. A peace offering. You nod. You thank them. You smile so wide your cheek splits open. They do not see it. They are too busy laughing. You offer ample wine. They take it. You offer conversation. They mock your scars. You ask, "Do you remember the forest?" They frown. You ask, "Do you remember what you took from me?" Now they laugh. But it's nervous. Then you ask, "Do you remember her hands?" The first one, Demetrius, reaches for his sword. Too slow. You draw the knife. You slash his hand open, deep and fast. Tendons snap like harp strings. He screams. Not from pain, from shock. Chiron backs away. But not far enough. You cut again, not to kill. Not yet. To teach. To shame. To slow them down. You take Demetrius first. You pin him. You let him feel what stillness tastes like. He dies face down in his brother's blood. Then you turn to Chiron, and you begin the real work. You tell him what it felt like to find Lavinia in the doorway, what it smelled like, what her mouth sounded like, open and tongueless. You make him say her name. Then you make him stop talking. Forever. The bodies are not hard to move. They are lighter than armor, lighter than guilt. You hang them upside down from the rafters of your old storehouse. You open them like animals. You clean them with snowmelt. You sing old prayers in Latin as you remove the eyes. You are calm. You are precise. You are a craftsman. Lavinia watches. You did not ask her to. She comes anyway. She sits in the doorway, wrapped in her old cloak. Her eyes do not leave your movements. You finish trimming the fat. You point to the oven. She nods. You bake for hours. You reduce the bones to broth. You season the meat. You grind it fine. You knead the crust. Your stump aches. You use your teeth when you must. You cut the pies with a burnt-handled knife you used in Gaul. It still smells of birch. You say to yourself, "They will eat what they made." You do not laugh this time. You are not a man tonight. You are the omen no priest dared interpret, the bird that flew backward, the blood that boiled in the bowl. You write the letter with your left hand. The pen drags, the ink bleeds, but the words are steady. To His Imperial Majesty Saturninus and Her Grace the Empress Tamora, I seek no vengeance, only rest. My house is quiet now. The knives are sheathed, the fires are low. Let us honor the dead with bread and wine. Let us eat, and put the old gods to sleep. You sign it plainly, Titus Andronicus. You seal it with wax. The stamp is crooked. That's good. Let them smell the weakness. You tell the messenger to deliver it before sundown. You do not ask for a reply. You stand in the atrium, robes straight, stump wrapped in fresh linen. There is flour on your sleeve. The smell of roasted meat curls through the air like incense. They will remember this, if they live long enough to speak. Saturninus arrives first. He looks tired, not weary, tired like a spoiled boy denied sleep. He wrinkles his nose at the smell. Tamora enters next. She is wearing red. Of course she is. A silk deeper than wine, darker than dried blood. Behind her, Chiron and Demetrius. Except they are not. Behind her, silence. You smile, and they mistake it for senility. Welcome, you say. Tonight we bury the sword. Tonight we honor peace with a meal. Tamora's voice drips false pity. You seem in better spirits, old man. You nod. I've had time to think. You serve the first course yourself. You carry it in silver dishes, crusts golden, steam rising. You place one before Saturninus, another before Tamora. You pour the wine. It is sweet, too sweet. Tamora lifts her fork. You prepared this yourself? I did, you say. I even caught the meat. She laughs. Saturninus does not. He cuts into the pie with ceremony. Steam pours out. A shred of something pale slips onto the plate. He frowns. He chews. Tamora follows. Demetrius is not here to stop her. Chiron is not here to scream. They are here, of course, just not in chairs. You watch them eat. You do not sit. You do not breathe. Lavinia stands in the doorway. Her wrists are uncovered. She holds her arms crossed at the elbow, a broken imitation of dignity. She stares at Tamora, eyes calm as a storm's eye. You lift your cup. You toast. To sons lost. To daughters defiled. To debts repaid. Saturninus raises a brow. Tamora wipes her mouth. The meat is half gone. You step forward. They raped her, you say. The air stills. They cut out her tongue. They took her hands. Then they laughed. Then they ate. Tamora drops her fork. You say, "You're chewing on them now." She begins to scream. Saturninus stands, knocking over his goblet. You unsheathe your blade. You draw it clean across your daughter's throat. Quick, silent, gentle in a way. The blood spills down her front like an offering. She sinks to her knees without protest. There is no other ending for her. Not in this world. Not in Rome. Saturninus shouts. You stab him through the gut before the sentence finishes. You twist. He collapses onto the pie. Tamora lunges. Lucius catches her blade with his own. He doesn't speak. He just ends her. A clean stroke. A soldier's mercy. The silence after is thick. Oven hot. Bread heavy. Smoke drenched. You look at Lucius. He looks back. You smile. It is the last thing your face remembers how to do. You sit. You breathe in. The smell of meat and blood is everywhere. The feast is finished. The fire has gone out. Not all at once. Not with a scream. It died like a soldier in winter, quietly, stubbornly, still holding the line. The house is still. What's left of it? Tables overturned. Blood crusted to stone. A pie dish cracked in half. You sit. The others move around you, shouting, dragging bodies, giving orders. You do not hear them. You are no longer in the room. Your arm is slick with blood. Not all of it is theirs. You lean back in the chair. The ceiling sways. You hear the fig tree in the courtyard, shedding one final fruit. You think, that was all of them then. You close your eyes. The bodies have been dragged away. Rome has a new emperor. Your son. Lucius, son of Titus, son of war. He stands before the Senate with blood in his boots and silence in his jaw. They call it justice. They call it stability. But they do not call it peace. Because they know better. You are not there to see it. You are not anywhere. Your body was burned at dawn. Not in glory. Not in rights. In haste. The smell clung to the pigeons on the rooftops. The ashes were scattered. No stone. No name. Only the crows remember. Some say the house is cursed, that a fig tree grew too quickly where your daughter died, that its fruit splits open with red pulp and smells faintly of rosemary and smoke. Some say they've seen you in the garden, barefoot, laughing, speaking to no one. And the laurel you planted? It's still there, blackened, twisted, but alive. A tangle of roots and memory. The wind moves its branches when no other leaves stir. It points not upward, but down, to the soil, to the grave, to the feast Rome chose to forget. This was your name, Titus Andronicus. The blade, the offering, the smoke, and when the gods were silent, you made them eat. Thank you for joining us. The story of Titus Andronicus is one of blood, betrayal, and the brutal cost of honor. A man who gave everything to Rome and was devoured for it. If you found this journey compelling, please consider subscribing for more immersive history, where you don't just learn the past, you live it. And if you'd like to support future episodes and long-form productions like this, you can find us on Patreon at Dreaming Through History. Your support keeps the fire lit and the stories alive. Until next time.